Yomiha, a volunteer of GIC. The GIC was established in 1999 to promote intercultural understanding between Gwangju's local and international residents through various kinds of projects and programs. The weekly GIC talk is one of them, and every week the volunteer speakers share their knowledge about history, culture, politics, art, and so many things. So it is really wonderful that the GIC talks have been happening since 2003 with willingness and support of so many volunteers. So for better GIC talk, please check your cell phone and switch it to silent mode. Have you done it? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nowadays, as globalization has been going on widely, many different races are living in the same country. Korea is no exception. Every year, a lot of foreigners come to Korea to be English teachers, college students, and factory workers, and many other things. Living here, they can experience a lot of Korean cultures and make a lot of friends and earn money, etc. However, at the same time, they sometimes witness and experience negative things in their lives here. So today's speaker, Leah Kabigting Sicat, is going to talk about the changing atmosphere in school due to a growing multicultural community and the experience and perspective of American English teachers on it. So let's welcome the speaker, Leah Kabigting Sicat.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Leah Kabigting Sicat, and today my talk is called In Tandem, Foreign English Teachers Representing and Witnessing Cultural Diversity in Korea. First, I would like to thank the Gwangju International Center, Dr. Shin, and I would like to thank the Fulbright Commission for allowing me to be here. And I would like to thank Changpyeong High School, faculty, staff, and students for making my experience wonderful here in Korea. It is important that I tell you this talk represents my ideas and my opinions. It does not represent the United States. It does not represent the Fulbright Commission. It does not represent Changpyeong High School. These ideas will reflect my own personal opinions, so please keep that in mind. And also, I like to share the inspiration for this talk came from my students who are here today. And I work at Changpyeong High School, which is a private co-educational boarding high school in Changpyeong, which is a small town about 20 minutes northeast of Gwangju. And they are some of the smartest high school students I know. So, I have felt surprised by a particular answer. On several occasions, when I asked them about where I was from in the United States, some of them answered, Philippines. You know, I've been at that school for about 2 years, and I've tried to teach them English conversation and share aspects of American culture, while at the same time telling them about my winter and summer vacations home in Sacramento. So, when I asked that question, I expected them to at least say California. So, after that experience, I realized that I could not ignore race and diversity in the classroom during our English conversation class together. That they were just not learning language with me. They were also learning about culture and society. So on that note, I would like you to consider the following. And this is what I shared with my students throughout this past semester together. And that is, to be successful understanding a language, it is important to learn about the cultures and societies that jumping off point for most of our lessons. That the students were not just learning about vocabulary and grammar with me. They were learning about cultures, they were learning about attitudes, they were learning about perspectives, they were learning about racism and gender and bilingualism, multiculturalism. Huge concepts that I tried to convey to them at the most basic level in the simplest terms, and they ran with it. I did this in English, not their first language. So for that, I must thank my students for allowing ourselves to go on this journey, and I would like to share our experience together with you. So let's contextualize the situation. Has anyone gone to high school in Korea? Who has attended high school in Korea? Nobody. Okay, then I have to explain this to you. So there's this test. It's a college entrance exam test. It's called Suno. And one of the main subjects on that test is English. And the idea is that high school students must try to obtain a very high score on that test so that they can attend a top university, such as one of the Sky universities, Seoul National, Korea University, Yonsei University. And by doing so, they will gain social and financial success. Oh, I put a dollar sign there. Please excuse me, that's my American view there about financial success, but that's the idea that English is supposed to be a tool. It's supposed to be a source of capital so that students can gain more social capital and then in turn, hopefully in the future, gain financial capital in terms of success. But success can be defined different ways, but this is the usual narrative. Now, there are many ways of learning English. Oh, I look so different in those pictures. Okay. So some students can have tutoring at Hagwons, or they can gain tutoring online. They can have language partners. They can watch tutorials on television, such as PBS. Some of them can study abroad. So there are many different ways, and another way is by having a foreign English teacher at their school. So, are there any foreign English teachers in the room right now? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay. And there are a lot of us in Korea, and we all look, can you raise your hand? Can you raise your hand again, please? Can everyone please take a look at them? Okay. All right. Now look at me. Now look at me. Okay. So we all look different. We all look different. And that's because we come from different places. Some are from the United States, Canada, Australia, England, Scotland, Philippines, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and India, to name a few. So where do we teach? All over Korea. All over. Small towns, cities, suburbs. So if you haven't met a foreign English teacher before, well, today you're in a room full of them. So by we I mean foreign English teachers. We are a diverse group we are a diverse group in itself. However, we're not the only foreigners in Korea. And I think it is important to note that I come from the United States. I am a foreign English teacher from the United States, so I teach American style English. And I'm a foreigner. I'm a foreigner in Korea. And foreigner is a general term to describe people from different countries. And I'm also Filipino-American. Filipino. Yeah, I know that word. And so when people people in Korea, whether they're Korean or whether they're foreign, when they hear the word American, I might not be what they expect. And that is okay. That's their view. But I think the word American reflects the ethnic diversity of the United States. And I came to Korea interested about the Korean education system, particularly its English language curriculum and how it has foreign English teachers from other countries. So 3 years ago, in 2008, I submitted a Fulbright grant application to arrive in Korea summer 2009. And do you know what Fulbright is? Raise your hand if you know Fulbright. Raise your hand. Okay. So, the Fulbright Commission was established in 1946 by U.S. Congress, and it's administered by the U.S. Department of State. And it is an international research and teaching program. The goal is to facilitate cultural understanding and awareness between the United States and other countries all over the world. And Fulbright Korea was established in 1960. It is currently overseen by the Korean American Education Commission. And right now, there are about 100 Fulbright English teaching assistant grantees in Korea alone. It's the largest ETA program in Fulbright. So as you can see, this is a cohort group from 2009. There's Amy, she's in the picture. But yes, so this is our group from 2009. As you can see, it's a diverse group. We're all from the United States. We're all from the United States. They're all Fulbright ETAs. English teaching assistant. So, when I arrived in Korea 2 years ago, I realized that I was jumping into a society, into a culture that I was unfamiliar with. And while I was eager to learn about the system and about society, I had to step back. And I had to just observe and let the students and the teachers and community members speak to me. Because if I tried to interpret their ideas, I don't think I would have been able to interpret it as accurately as they could have communicated it themselves. So when I first arrived, the little English teacher, I had a few problems, which all English teachers encounter in the very beginning of the semester. And so finally, I asked one of my boys' classes, what keeps you from learning in Miss Sicat's English conversation class? And the answers ran, they went from a very wide range to either that, oh, it was because they were tired, or because they were bored, or because they were hungry, and so they couldn't concentrate in my class. This is a boys' class, by the way. And I got a certain response that really stuck out for me. And it was this one right here. This was from one of the boys' classes. And he wrote a note to me. And I copied it down. And I want to share it with all of you. Sicat, I don't know how long you have been in Korea. So I wonder if you know lots of things about Korea. I think you thought Korean students are crazy in study. But we are not crazy in study. Due to Korean education policy, we can't help studying. So this was one of my experiences at school. At the same time, I don't live at school. So I had experiences outside of school, outside of the classroom. the bottom right. These are, they are Filipino women. They immigrated to Korea as brides. They are married to Korean men, and they have raised families in Korea. So they started their lives here. And to the left was actually from last month. I was in Gwangju for the May 18th event, Human Rights Award ceremony, and I met, again, Filipinos, exchange students, and a woman who is from a human rights organization in the Philippines. And at the top she's not exactly a family member, but she is the cousin of a cousin. You understand? Okay. So she's the cousin of a cousin, and she immigrated to Korea as a bride. She met her husband in the Philippines. There he is right there. And now they live together in Chotanamdo. They live in Gwangju. So I try to meet with them once a month. Either I go there or they come here. So outside the classroom, I met other foreigners who were not English teachers, who are not American. And funny enough, these other foreigners we were somehow connected by diaspora. Because my family immigrated from the Philippines about 35 years ago to the United States. I met other foreigners as well. So, so let's start at the bottom right. Last year, I went to a May 1st event, International Workers' Day event. This was in Seoul, and all the workers. And then to the left, I attended an international education conference at Seoul National University, where I presented a talk. So I'm in there somewhere. I'm in that picture. And on the top left, 2 years ago when I first arrived in Korea, I went to the R16 International B-Boy Championships to watch. And actually I'm standing on stage with DJ Renegade from England. So this was in Incheon. And top right is the labor attaché for the Philippine Embassy. So I had all these experience outside the classroom, and I couldn't help but wonder, how can I bring them into the classroom? How can I share them with my students? Oh, that's not you, don't worry. It's from the previous year. My students are in front. So how can I bring these experiences into the classroom? How could we talk about what was going on outside of school? Just because it didn't happen in school doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all. So, what could we do? And I started to talk to my students about bilingualism, multiculturalism, diaspora, and part of that was accepting the words coming from me as a Filipino-American woman. And of course, some students accepted it, some students rejected it at first, and some students just felt indifferent to it. They thought, why should we care? Why should we learn about this? Why can't you just play music videos? No, they really said that. And so I told my students, I told them that viewing people as inherently superior or inferior based on gender, skin color, eye shape, nationality, etc., can prevent you from seeing them as people. So superior, inferior people, right? So then, that was another framework in which we tried to understand what was going on in our classroom, in Korean society, and the world world around us. And mind you, we were doing all of this in English, not their first language. So at our very first class meeting, I asked them this question. And I said that we were going to speak for meaning instead of translation. So I asked them, which one's the correct answer? A. Why? Don't worry, it's a rhetorical question. I asked them this. Yes, it's A. But is that the direct translation? No. But that's the meaning. And I said to them that direct translations would not be helpful right now because it is difficult to directly compare languages and cultures and societies. All societies are different. None of them are the same. So we had to try to wrap our heads around totally foreign concepts, not just about foreigners, but also about our own attitudes and our own prevailing perspectives about Korean society so that we can understand the world. And I told them that we were going to do this in all the languages that we know. When I started studying Korean, I don't know why, but I thought in Spanish. And Spanish is not my first language. But it helped me connect to Korean somehow. So I told my students that learning a language doesn't happen in isolation, but rather requires all the languages and knowledge in your schema. I wanted them to ask a question in Korean if they needed to. I wanted them to ask our co-teachers to translate concepts in Korean into English if needed. Because I did not want certain ideas lost in translation. I mean, I suppose I could mime immigration, but I think it would be better just to have the Korean word for it to illustrate a concept. And I told them that I would do this. For the most part, I would do this for them in English. But to keep in mind that I'm using American-style English because that's what I know. And my accent, my pronunciation, is because I'm from California. So keep that in mind as well. And that in our class together, we heard different kinds of accents. We heard people speak English, in different ways. People from different countries. And I even told my students that I'm from California. So I will tell you, so sometimes I will not use English words, I will use Spanish words. For example, Los Angeles, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento, my hometown in California, Sacramento. And that's because that's a part of California culture. That's part of American culture. And that was why it was important for them to understand that even for Americans, we are diverse. And look what we were able to accomplish after we started to address multiculturalism, race, bilingualism, and diaspora. I didn't want them to just use English to talk about foreigners. I wanted to show them how they could use English to talk about Korean society and to talk about the world. So I asked them if they could go to the G20 summit last fall, what would they say? And some of the students said that they would share their opinions about North Korea because it's important to Korea. That they would share their opinions about the lack of access to water in the Gaza Strip because people were suffering in that area. And some of them said that they would talk about the state of the lunch menu at school because that is also very important. And last month we talked about May 18th. I asked them, what is the significance of May 18th? Why is it so relevant today? They not only answer that question, but they developed their own questions. They asked, what can the world learn from May 18th? They created those questions for us to answer. I gave them an Arundhati Roy quotation, to love to be loved. And I must say, they broke it down. They took it and they found the meaning, they interpreted it for its meaning, and they were able to apply her quotation to Korea. Arundhati Roy is a writer from India. And that particular quotation was about 9/11, which happened in the United States, but still has international significance. And here, high school students in Korea found a way to make it relevant to them. And they did so in a language that was foreign to them. Of course, we also try tortilla chips and salsa. You know, we just don't do all serious things. We talk about bilingualism, multiculturalism, but we also talk about bibimbap at Hankook Taqueria in Atlanta, Georgia. We wonder, is that Korean? Is it Mexican? Is it American? What is it? We talked about Glee, which is a popular American TV show. We played morphine basketball. Do you know what morphines are? So we played games. We danced the Dougie, which is really popular among American teenagers, or it was last year. They learned about Hansen's disease, leprosy, which was significant to Jeollanam-do during a certain time period in Korea. And since my students are from Jeollanam-do, I thought it was important for them to understand the historical and social significance of a topic that just seemed so outdated, but was somehow still relevant to their understanding of society today. We listened to Stevie Wonder songs. We listened to Don't You Worry About a Thing. They filled in the blanks and we talked about the meaning. We watched a video clip about tornado rides, which are popular in Korea, downtown, if you haven't tried them, and also on the boardwalk in New Jersey. And for my advanced class, we listened to the song Seasons of Love from Rent. And we talked about its significance. And how, and we talked about the words and the significance of the words. And in the words, how we could communicate our feelings, how we could get people to move, to think in certain ways, which was exactly what I wanted them to do, if they were willing. So I would like to say that in our time together, we were able to cultivate a classroom culture of excellence. A classroom culture in which they learned to take risks, and they expanded their horizons about how they conceptualize Korea and the world. Not just foreigners, but it was important for me to bring these concepts into the classroom because I am a foreigner. And they would somehow encounter foreigners, if not in the immediate future, but perhaps later on. It's becoming a global society. Korea is becoming global. And I think it is important to understand how transnational families and multicultural households, how foreign exchange students, researchers, factory workers, English teachers affect Korean society and how Korean society affects them. Because in our class together, when I speak to them in English, they're not just learning grammar vocabulary. They're learning about attitudes, and at the same time developing attitudes, sharing attitudes and ideas. And I thought, if we could do this in English, in another language, it would be another tool, another way for them to be powerful. And I think that me, it was really important for me to share this talk with you today because some of us are foreigners in Korea, some of us are English teachers, and I think that we must represent the diversity of the different kinds of foreigners from our own countries, but also from around the world, and to learn about other foreigners, and while learning about Korean society and teaching language. Because language, culture, and society are inherently connected, and they're also affecting our identities and how we view ourselves and we view each other. So.
Okay, so my name is Huey, and now it's actually time for the question and answer period. So what we do now is there will be some people who have a piece of paper, or they might have given you a piece of paper before you came in. You can write down a question on that paper and then hand it back to one of the volunteers, and they'll give it to us so we can ask questions to Leah. But also, some people might have questions they want to ask by themselves, and that's okay too. Leah has asked, especially some people today might want to ask their questions directly, so that's great. And in the meantime, I just want to say I really appreciate your talk because I'm also a foreign English teacher in Korea. But what's interesting, I'm at an elementary school, and now there's actually a young girl from Pakistan at my school. So it's a normal elementary school. They're all Korean kids and one girl from Pakistan. So now she and I are the two foreigners. And it's really interesting, and I realize in some ways I can understand her, and she can understand me in some really interesting ways. And she's learning a lot about Korea, and the students in her class really like her, and they're really kind of taking care of her and showing her lots of things. So that's great. So does anyone, yeah, if you want, please write a question. And if you have any questions now to ask, that's okay too. Oh. Okay, so this is the first question. I'll ask this one right away. So someone made a statement, and they want to know what you think about this statement. So they said, to learn English is to learn how to be a human being. The eventual purpose is to make the best system for a more decent society. So I think to learn language in the community. What is your view? What do you think?
What is the exact question?
To learn English, or I think to learn language is to learn how to be a human being. The eventual purpose is to make the best system for a more decent society. What do you think?
Well, I think that because the direct question was to learn English, I would change that and substitute the word language, and then I would agree with it. Because I think while English has become, the lingua franca has become the language of power around the world in terms of business and education, I think that viewing any language as, again, inherently superior or inferior will prevent people from teaching other people. And I think if we just say to learn language, then I would agree with it. Other than that, so it by itself.
And the next today's talk is all about the modern Russia and the legacy of the Russian political culture. So please come to next GIC talk, and I hope to see you once again. And for now, for those who don't know about GIC, I will explain briefly. The GIC is a local non-profit organization to promote intercultural understanding between Gwangju's local and international residents through various kinds of projects and programs. So if you